next. I'm
I'm
up
the
next.
closer.
I'm up next.
Yeah, we'll talk about use.
Alright, I'll keep it real simple, bro.
Okay.
F tier, Land Rover. Obviously, right?
I don't know, man. Their new cars look pretty good. I drove past a couple of them. Hey, bro, get in focus. Hey,
The
bro.
way I see it is like happy. The way I see
I'm not
it,
in
right?
focus.
Oh, I don't know, man. I just like what those cars are made for. Right idea, but it just never goes that way. Like, you know, and I feel like purpose-wise, people buy like Wranglers for off-roading more than they buy Land Rovers for off-roading. And the people that are really, really rich buy like the AMG 6x6, not a Land Rover. So I just feel like that car is never ever getting sold to the target audience. It works, but I would take the competitor, right? All right, moving on. Nice and simple. D tier. Oh, by the way, my list is in order. So not only is it tiered, but it's like in order. I tried to at least. So starting from the bottom of D tier, Tesla. Not that I think it's a horrible car brand, but out of all the other EVs on here, I would take every other brand. I would take Rivian, Karma, and Lucid over any of these cars. I don't like EVs as is, but I really don't like Teslas. The Model S was cool, changed the world. Model X had the biggest, Model X had the biggest windshield known to man. It is impossible to not get a sunburn while driving that car. but you know the doors can dance with other Model X's, so that's all.
Hairline further back, like LeBron James.
Model 3, I sat in one in an Uber a couple days ago, and the guy was just complaining about it A to Z. So I was like, yeah, this only solidifies my opinion. Right, moving on. Maserati, Mini, Chrysler, Lincoln, Hyundai, Jeep, Cadillac, GMC, Chevrolet, Fiat, Ram, Kia, Mitsubishi, Mazda, Rivian, Honda, Subaru, Toyota. Okay? And to put it simply, like I said, I would take the competitors of these cars over them, right? For example, you got Chevy up there. It's at the bottom of the American trifecta because I would take a Mustang and a Challenger over a Camaro. I would take an F-150 and a Ram over a Silverado. And I would take like whatever Ford's sedan is and Dodge's sedan over like a Malibu. I just don't really find Chevys appealing. It's like, yeah, here,
Chevys are like
buy
really
our car,
basic.
right? Buy our 2019 car with cloth seats, no heated seats. Like,
Quick question. Is this, why would you take them over? Is it just because of styling or the engine or the features?
Just like bang for my buck, what would I like if you put these three cars in front of me and you're like you had the daily one of these for like a year, what are you taking? Like you have to use them for their usage, right? So if it's like a Mustang, right, like performance, style, reliability.
Yeah, but did you think about the Corvette?
I put that in there, but I feel like putting one, like, I would take the Corvette over, I guess.
Well, I guess that's like in its own class.
Yeah. Right, like the Z06 is on the level like the Hellcat and the GT500, which, like, I still think I'd take a GT500 over, maybe not a Hellcat. But I feel like one model being better than another one doesn't outweigh the fact that, like, four of the models aren't as good.
I see what you mean.
So that's probably the gripe there. I'm just trying to look at other ones that might be controversial.
I think when I was going off the American brands like Chevy, Dodge, and Ram, like GMC, I was just thinking about their trucks, just because all their cars are just basic, the same thing. But
right,
I was definitely going by their trucks.
Even those trucks, man, like Silverados, I can't say I've been in like a brand new one, but I just feel like they've been kind of the same for a really long time.
No, like the
Ford gives F-150s facelifts pretty often and really nice ones as well.
Yeah.
Same with like, that's why I put Toyota above it, because like the Tundra and the Tacoma are just badass trucks. Like they're so underrated.
Yeah, the GMCs and the new Rams, like the brand new ones, like 2020, 21, like those, they're really cool. They got like a lot of good features and stuff like that compared to like the other ones.
Right.
Yeah. But what about the Hummer EV?
Hummer's not on this list, bro.
It's a GMC.
But Hummer's not on this list.
Well, yeah, they sell
like
the
what,
Hummer EV as a GMC.
Yeah, but going by that knowledge, why just stick Volkswagen and C tier, bro? All right.
It's not the same thing.
We're not talking about the cars as a group. We're talking about the cars as a brand.
No, it's not the same thing. It's called the
like
GMC
10,000 pounds. Also,
it's under the GMC brand. Like it's called the GMC
yeah,
Hummer.
2023 GMC Hummer. Dude, 9,000 pounds and it's $100,000 over 330 miles.
All right, $100,000. I'm taking the Rivian R1T over a Hummer. Absolutely.
100
Okay, I
grand, I'm
agree
taking
with
a
that.
Bronco and I'm maxing out the options.
Right, you can agree with that. You're taking the Rivian over the Hummer, and it's like 30 grand cheaper. Yeah,
There you go. Plain
Okay, I
simple.
agree with that.
and you get EV. You don't piss off all the Anyway, moving on to C tier. So in order from worst to best: Dodge, Karma, Acura, Infiniti, Lotus, Ford, Lexus, Bentley, Volvo, Aston Martin. Hot takes here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
Infiniti and C tier. It could go in D. It could go in C. I'm biased.
Fair enough.
I'll. That's a flexible one. You could put it wherever you want. I just think that value-wise, they're pretty good cars.
Yeah, like we're in the middle of the pad, yeah.
Right, like it's not terrible, not great. I think C tier is solid for it. I would take like some Lexuses over Infinities though, and Infinity's lineup is
LFA.
really right. Okay, that doesn't.
So
I
would
took the
I.
LFA over 99% of the cars here, right? But Infinity's lineup is just like pretty barren right now as well. So they don't really have much to even compete with. So I think like a low C tier is good for that. Lotus, I just kind of stuck in the middle because I don't keep up with it. To be honest, like I didn't even know they were still making cars. Ford, I explained why that's at the top of the American trifecta. Bentley gets like a decent C just because I just look at it like Bentley, Maybach, Rolls. I'm taking those other two over a Bentley. Like I don't know. I think Bentley peaked like at the beginning of the VAG acquisition. I think as time has progressed, the cars have kind of become like a little watered down.
I think that, and like they didn't really kind of upgrade with the times. Like they still look like old classic cars.
The
like
new
now.
Continental looks really good, I will say that, but it's still like a little too old-fashioned.
Nah, bro, S tier comes with a free umbrella. S tier. Bro.
Yeah, bro, back in like 2005, your Bentley had like wool carpet. Like there was just character things about it that used to make it badass. Now it's just an expensive car. I don't know.
But guess what? The Continental, they moved to the Panamera chassis instead of the Audi layout, and it's also a DCT.
So for all that, just get a Panamera Turbo S.
Right.
No,
And you save what? Like you save like $300,000.
No, one is way more luxurious than the other. Okay, I still can't get over how you rated Karma way above Tesla.
I just love what Karma does. Man. Yeah, they look way cooler, and I just feel like there's a stigma around Tesla. Like Tesla has become like iPhone, right? Like it's a social status. I think if you really boil these cars down to like functionality, minus let's say the autonomous driving, because Tesla kind of has that unparalleled. I feel like in every other aspect, I'll take a Karma.
But is that even yet fully legal in the States yet?
No, you cannot drive autonomous. Or if you do and you get in an accident, it's not Tesla's fault. So that's still like in the air.
No, Karmas definitely look better than Tesla.
Yeah, I really like Karma. That's got to be like my favorite EV.
I don't know anything about them, like reliability wise and stuff like that, but.
What? You said C and then you didn't say anything? C, yeah, that's where it's at, bro, on the tier list.
Jeez.
I concede now.
Lexus though? Lexus is in C?
Again, man, they're just like really mid Japanese car brand.
So you would take a Nissan, like, I don't even know what Nissan's like sporty cars are. Like you would take like a Nissan like 400Z over like a Lexus like ISF or something?
Oh, absolutely, in a heartbeat. But more so, Nissans are a bit cheaper than Lexus, and they're still competitors. And I feel like for the money difference in between Nissan and Lexus, you don't quite. It's not enough.
I think you pay the same amount of money for like the highest tier Nissan for like the lowest tier Lexus. That's
right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. And then C tier, I put Aston Martin in there, man. Like, I think that the Vantage is really, really, really cool. Like, I really like the way it looks inside and out. I saw one in person not too long ago, and it's just like eye candy.
Really?
On the other hand, like, these cars are expensive, dude. Like, they are expensive cars.
Facts.
So, and like that's like entering the upper stratosphere of supercars. So I just don't think it can quite compete. All right, now B tier, in order. You have something to say about? No. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
B tier from worst to best: Jaguar, Genesis, Nissan, Audi, Mercedes, Alpha.
Jaguar.
Now, there's Jaguar, man. I just love it.
Jaguar.
I love their V8s, man. I love their V8s.
The F-Type,
and Jaguar does something that a lot of these competitors don't really do anymore. It is a chore to find plastic in a Jaguar, even nowadays.
What?
Like they've got that British luxury down really well.
That is
okay. We're not talking like F paces, not talking F paces and whatnot, right? Like when I think Jaguar, I'm thinking of like the best cars they offer. In terms of like the bottom of the barrel base model cars, if you got to buy those, you shouldn't be buying a Jaguar. You should buy the best car that like I don't know, Nissan offers or something, or like Lexus. I don't think that you should be buying a budget Jaguar. That's like I kind of feel the same way about Porsche also. Like they made these bottom of the barrel cars so that people with not rich man money could afford them,
just so they could say, yeah, like I
own a Jaguar or I own a Porsche, right? But I don't know, man. Like the F-Type R. The F-Pace SVR, like just really cool cars.
The F-Type R is...
And it's just like aluminum and like piano black trim everywhere. Like it's never going to go out of style. Like they never really got on the trend of like carbon fiber.
Reliability, they're ass, but...
Yeah, but
they're nice.
If you're spending that much money on a car, you have enough money to keep up with it.
Yeah. Alright.
Okay, and then let me see. The only car in B tier that I really think could move up is Genesis. And I think it will move up in like a year or two. Like I just gave it a really good B tier because what they do is sick. They have insanely luxurious cars that are like on par with like Mercedes and Maybach and whatever for like a third of the price.
Yeah.
With that said, I think they could be a bit more expensive and materials could be a little bit nicer. Like they proved their point. They did the same thing as them for a lot cheaper. So I would love to see what Genesis could do with a car that's actually like pretty expensive. And I think a lot of people would buy it.
Yeah, that and you throw into the cost of like maintenance is like a fraction of the price of German cars.
I just think
they make great entry level cars. And so back to Jaguar for a second. I think as a luxury brand, it's important that even though you're making cars that appeal to the masses, that are more affordable, it's important to still make a good car. And I think every other luxury brand does better than Jaguar. But other than that, I like the F-Type and the SVR stuff.
Well, look at where Jaguar is compared to everything else. It's below Audi, it's below Mercedes, it's below BMW.
They make an EV F-Pace. I didn't know that until the other day when I pulled up somewhere. They had the charging stations and Jaguar was getting charged. I was like, what the hell?
You're thinking about the
pump. What are you doing?
Yeah.
The I-Pace, yeah.
Yeah,
the I-Pace, yeah.
That's
I for whatever, ingenuity.
Yeah. But also, I think Genesis's are a little... The styling is a little off. I did see, I called my brother because I was so gassed. I saw it was like a GX80, whatever their top of the line SUV is.
GV80.
And from a distance, especially the taillights, I really thought it was a Bentayga. Like, the taillights are identical.
Yeah.
But I got up close and I was like, yo, this is a stunning car. But I think the G80 could do with a little bit more of like a more luxurious, aggressive styling. Especially if they were to raise the price a little bit, I think they could do better.
But people seem to really love them.
Yeah, I think they could.
I think for how old the company is and how they came out of nowhere, they're doing really good.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said in a few years I wouldn't be surprised if this car skyrockets up that list.
Because like when they first came out, it was like the Hyundai Genesis, and they were doing the coupe, the sports cars.
Yeah, and they unfortunately tried to outdo like the G37, which at the time was like peak sports luxury coupe. So they kind of it made it really hard for themselves.
Yeah, and they made the 2.0, which is like you couldn't get anything out of it potential wise, and then they made the 3.8, which was like you get what you get, and that's it because it's NA.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, they were good looking cars. Don't get me wrong. It felt like a modernized like Tiburon, but
they
didn't go anywhere from there.
All right, moving on to I guess Nissan. Out of the Japanese cars, it's got to be my favorite for value and whatnot.
You just want a GTR?
Nah, bro, the GTR. Have you seen the new one? They just unveiled it like a week ago or something like that.
No, bro. I'm not talking about any of these like brand new cars. It's always like the good old like 2012 ones, man.
Yeah. But I think that's good where it's at. 400 Z-Man is sick. We'll see in a few years how it holds up. As of right now, though, they're still not being pushed out enough to really know. Audi goes to the bottom of the German
2023 GTR hybrid. Excuse me?
Yeah, the Audi sits at the bottom, bro. It's like, if I want luxury, I'm getting the Benz. If I want performance, I'm getting a BMW. Like, I just thought Audi was so awkward. And even, like, in the past 10, 15 years, like, their all-wheel drive systems, you can't have fun in them. You can try. It's just, like, understeer up the ass. I know the Hull Dexes are getting a little bit better, but it's still a wonky system.
Yeah, can't confirm.
Yeah, and I guess like the R8, is
Can also
a cool
confirm.
car. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't. I don't know. R8's probably the only car that I would really pick over the upper stratosphere of these cars. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I don't know. BMW M8.
Right, or like AMG GTR.
Yeah.
AMG GTR and R8 would be a close one, but I think I still go with the R8. Like the R8 is just a badass car.
Well, BMW i8, like
Hell no. Yeah, like 300 horsepower, 200 grand. That's fair, right?
it looks cool. It's blue.
The doors go up.
Yeah.
Benz, just classic car company, but they're cheaping out recently. Like, the new Benzes, you got plastic screens, you got plastic, like, door handles, everything, really. Just so much plastic in those cars. It's unfortunate. If
And
they
the
were,
EQ
like,
stuff
but
is
the
terrible.
prices haven't gone down, though. That's the problem. Like, the prices have gone up and anything, and the quality of product has severely gone down. Like, my dad is thinking about transitioning away from Mercedes, and he's been in them for, like, 30 years, but it's gotten that bad.
You should get a Phaeton. You should find a VW Phaeton.
Nice W12 with the shifter out of a Passat.
Yes, sir.
Alfa Romeo, haven't kept up with them, but I assume their lineup is the same as it was like 2-3 years ago. I see them as the bridge between BMW and Mercedes, except better in every single way. Like, it's the perfect level of comfort and like performance. Oh, like I said, I think it just does Audi way better than Audi does Audi. Like, I'm taking a Giulia over your A4, your A6, your S6, your RS4. Like, I don't care. I think the Giulia Quadrifoglio is just like a crazy, crazy, crazy car. And then even so, what is it? Levante's the Maserati. What is the Alfa Romeo SUV?
Stelvio.
The Stelvio. I think the Stelvio is also really cool. Again, it's like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. What do? They turn the Giulia into an SUV. Like, just sick car.
I would say
I
they're
mean,
very
I agree
behind
with
on
you there.
tech, although I do really like the Giulia.
I agree with you there because I was gonna get a Stelvio Quattrofolio, but they have a lot of reliability issues, and it's not like simple fixes like, oh, there's one part in the engine bay or like one component. No, it's like electrical stuff, which is always a pain in the ass because the electrical stuff is always throughout the whole car. It's like under the carpet, you gotta take the whole car apart. So
Yeah, it's Italian, which is a whole different level.
Yeah.
It's not even German.
but if I had the money, absolutely Stelvio Quattrofolio as an SUV for like a daily.
S-tier SUV,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're cool.
I think
cars.
that's pretty good for B tier. A
I don't
tier
think
now.
Nissan
Volkswagen.
belongs on that list.
I don't know, man. You look at the cars that Nissan's competing with. Do you think that any of those cars belong above it?
Yes.
Factoring in like what?
Okay. So the Z, the GCR, that stuff is cool, but everything else is just bottom tier. Okay, slight exaggeration, but just not as good. CVT disasters like Sentra, the Corolla, and the Civic is better. By the way, there's a Civic Type R, there's a GR Corolla, there's no Sentra special anything. Same thing with
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Altima.
They don't have to. Out of all their models, they don't have to have like a sport model for every single car.
Right, and it's like
I'm just saying.
when you get into that level of price, like a Corolla GR, I mean, a badass car. That's why Toyota got the top of D tier. Like, Toyota went at the bottom of the barrel for me if it wasn't for the Corolla GR. With that said, like, those cars are pretty expensive. You're pushing like German performance cars with some of those prices. Same with like what is like the Acura, like the TLX Type S or whatever. Like a $55,000-$60,000 car.
The Civic Type R are like 50 grand for
They're
one.
not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
But
I just think they're a little expensive. It's like, what do you think of when you think reliable Japanese car? You think of an Altima.
Not really.
No.
Or like a Camry.
On the Civic all day, bro.
A Civic?
opposite
Well,
of
maybe
all
20 years ago.
even
I
my
don't know,
Hokui
man.
Ultima was a mess. It had all type of electronic problems.
I know that
Had to
was
get rid
03,
of it.
bro. That was like when they first started introducing them.
I don't know, man. I feel like the last like 4 or 5 years of like Ultima has been perfect. Like the Armadas, the Titans, those have also been like really good cars.
Armada and Titan are okay. Those are okay. Again, it's the front wheel drive stuff that really brings them down. And I
Yeah, I mean
actually
that applies
disagree.
for like almost any company though. Like their front wheel drive cars are just like the death of them. Like they're
They
No.
have to do that, or else they're shooting themselves in the
Because
foot about not having a good market.
Because I'm not mad about the Toyota and the Honda front wheel drive stuff, but the Nissan stuff, especially like mid to late 2000s, I would actually say they're not reliable.
Well, it depends which ones, because some of them were really bad.
Every CVT car.
And
I think CVTs
Mine
apply
is
for,
CVT.
yeah, but CVTs apply for like every car in general. That every manufacturer had like a stint of bad years with them.
Not only that, but I feel like if you drive a car like an Ultima the way it's meant to be driven, you will not have CVT problems.
That absolutely that's
Disagree.
spot on.
Like the reason CVTs, man,
No, listen for a second.
If you're driving the speed limit every day to and from work, like you're not doing anything crazy, you just leave it in drive, you're not gonna have problems.
you don't have like a DE motor in it. Yeah.
Hold on. My stepmom had a 2011 Nissan Rogue, and I say had because we had to replace it last week.
The Rogues are junk. The Rogues are junk.
We just replaced it last week with the 2015 RAV4, and it was having transmission issues, and my stepmom drives like a nun, so. And it had 160,000 miles, by the way.
Maintenance? Was the maintenance kept up on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but those Rogues and Muranos, that body was really bad in the 2010 era.
But like
10 to 15, like right around there, those things are really bad.
Like we're pushing over like 2017, 2018, like Nissans are still having problems. And even without that, like the current lineup, the Toyota and Honda stuff are just better.
Yeah, but see, I think when people sit down at the Toyota headquarters and they're like, okay, what do we need to make better? Because what are our sales? Like, what are we getting the most profit from? It's definitely going to be the sedans. That's why they're not putting as much R&D into their SUVs. That's why
the Camry's the moneymaker for Toyota, absolutely.
I don't work for Toyota, so I don't know, but that's what I think their thought process is.
I do, bro. I literally know. I'm telling you right now. So we talked about last week. More Camrys, less Brabs.
Camrys and Corollas, man.
What yeah, I don't know, man. That's my opinion, bro. 400Z, 66666 car. Out of like the sports coupes in the $40,000 to $50,000 range, nothing better right now, in my opinion.
I'd rather have a Supra personally.
No Mark IV?
Mark
You mean a
V.
Toyota? Or you mean a BMW? Sorry.
Yep.
Nah, bro. Audi TTRS, bro.
Death on wheels right there, the TTRS.
Exactly, that's the point.
I like TTRS.
All that power, Hall Dex front wheel drive bias. Yeah, that'll do it. Let's like break every record for power by like literage and displacement, and then give it like a super front wheel drive bias system.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta pull through those corners. You know what I mean?
You gotta make it so people crash them and then buy another one.
Yeah.
Alright, A tier.
Alright.
Volkswagen goes at the bottom of A tier because I'll make it real simple for you, man. For the money that you spend on a Volkswagen, you can't buy anything better. You really can't. Like Jettas, bro. I don't know. I feel like for 15, 20 grand, like you're getting, for the most part, especially with the newer ones, you're getting Japanese reliability for like, your plain Jane commuter, but you kind of get like German luxury features at the same time. And then again, like the new GTI and the new Golf R, really sick. I think they're kind of expensive, but you touched on the problems that they had earlier, which I didn't know that. But to be fair, I haven't seen many of them, so maybe it's a little sales slump. Maybe people aren't buying them for that reason. But I just think value-wise, when you compare it to other cars, like Volkswagen's just up there. And I think that they're able to make those low profit margins because of how much money they make with these other brands. So I think it's kind of cheating in a way.
And hang on, let me make one thing clear. Those like infotainment bugs that I mentioned, those aren't bugs that happen over time of owning the car. Those are bugs that
they come out from factory with them. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's why these cars aren't being seen. That's why people aren't buying them. To be fair, I haven't seen a lot of new Mark 8s.
But I do. The Jetta is a nice car though.
I've seen one every Tuesday and Friday.
Somebody have one at soccer?
Yeah, dude. They have a Mark 8 Golf R. And I drive by every time and I have to get out and look at it. Huh?
That's a pain.
Yeah, absolutely. But so here's the thing, touching back onto those Volkswagen problems, I think it goes for every manufacturer that when they release a new either like body or generation of a car, the first 2 years they're always going to have like all these bugs and iron them out.
When they take a jump, like a huge leap, it's bound for the first gen like pre-facelift to have problems. Like even the Mark 7 wasn't great, but the Mark 7.5 was like it fixed everything that the Mark 7 had wrong with it.
Yeah. Just like the 8.5 is gonna fix all those
We
problems.
do that, yeah, exactly. And Volkswagen listens, man. Unlike a lot of car brands, like it's hard to find like a late gen Volkswagen that has gripes that you had from like day one.
Yeah, I mean maybe like the like early 2000s like Passat with it, like the timing changes stuff like that. But
yeah.
Besides
and
W8
like
wagon.
you said, like and like you
Love
said, like
that
the
car.
Volkswagens they're really cheap. You get like an entry level Jetta, brand new. They're like what, like 23, 24 grand.
Right,
now?
and you'll have like 10 times the luxury of a Japanese car. But the
True.
reliability
Yeah,
won't be
true,
like
true.
nearly. It'll be worse, but not enough to not make it worth it.
Yeah, before the market got really inflated, like what 2017, you bought a new one, it was like 20 grand.
Right.
Brand new Jetta out of the door, like base
I
model.
think
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous value for Volkswagens. All right, moving on to Rolls and Maybach. I think those are just two upper stratosphere of luxury cars that honestly just come down to preference. They're both really great at what they do. Some of them are better in other ways. And I like them both for different reasons, and I think it's really, really, really hard to compare them because when you get into like the range of $300,000-$400,000 cars, like my opinion is there should be nothing wrong with them, but there always is, and each car has a little bit wrong with it. Like my block kind of has some plastic in it, which is a bit ridiculous, but Rolls like doesn't quite have the comfort and the quiet of my block. So I think you can just go back and forth all day about which one's better, and I wasn't trying to do that, so I just stuck them next to each other.
Rolls
Give
Royce
my
is
block
better.
the edge. Right, see, that's what I'm saying.
I think at that point, like if you're buying a Maybach or a Rolls, you're not even going to be driving them. Like you bought them for your fleet and for your like drive you around, and you're just sitting in the back anyway.
Yeah, that's why that goes there.
With your champagne cooler in the center console,
But
and the little refrigerator.
BMW goes as the top of the German trifecta just because I think I really like what they're doing, man, and I've liked what they've been doing for the past few years. Their cars have, like, if you look at a BMW from 10 years ago and then like a Benz and an Audi from 10 years ago, like I think I can say that BMW has taken like the biggest leaps in just everything.
true.
And most of the time it pays off. On top of that, if you look at like the motors that these cars have, like think about how many iconic motors BMW has put out. Like the M3 GTR from way back in the day. You have the S85, the S65, like the V10 and the V8, two legendary motors. The N54, like the N54 is the German 2J.
Yeah,
And then, and now you have the B58, which is like destroying everything with like minimal bolt-ons and a tune. And like BMW really boils down to like the ultimate driving experience or whatever. And I think that's not going to change anytime soon. They pump sound through the cabin, which is a bit depressing, but turbos muffle.
Yeah, Volkswagen did too.
Turbos muffle exhaust noise, so it's understandable. You can tune it out for like fairly easily if you want to, so it's not that big of a
Yeah,
deal.
well, Volkswagen, you can go into the coding and turn it off.
Right, and a lot of these other cars starting to move over to drive-by-wire. BMW's staying hydraulic, especially like in their performance department, which is
No, they're not.
we love that.
It's
What is the M?
all
Like
electric.
the new M's are drive-by-wire?
Well, it's not drive by wire, but it's electrically power steering, electric power steering.
You're saying it's not hydraulic steering anymore?
They have no hydraulic steering whatsoever anymore.
Oh, down to F.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that, to be honest. I figured they were still
see, I
hydraulic,
like-
especially the M cars.
I like what they're doing because like BMW's kind of getting out of their comfort zone. Audi, like for the most part, they're just adding like an A class. Like it's at first it was just like you only had the A4s, the A6, and like the A8s. Now you have like a 5. Now you have like a 7. Now you have like a 3.
Yeah.
Like they're just adding stuff and they're just making them smaller or bigger. But BMW is actually kind of doing something else.
The best way I can describe it is like Mercedes always tries to improve their luxury. BMW always tries to improve their performance, and Audi always tries to like remain as the bridge in between the two. And
Yeah.
I think BMW has made significantly better strides in performance than Mercedes has made in luxury.
Yeah, like when you think Mercedes, think like S class.
Right, but like when you think BMW recently, like especially now, like the M5 is nuts. Like it's keeping up with like 911
especially
Turbo S and stuff like
especially
that.
the competition is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why that goes up there. And then
Audi-
Ferrari. Oh, if you got more to say about
I was gonna say Audi just has like their S and their RS, which granted it's like the same thing except just like I said, different bodies.
But Audis always came to me like in the same. Like, sure, they try to be the bridge, but Audis are usually just really fast cars. Like, they're not fun by any means. They're just really fast, especially like the RS7 and the S8s. Just
Yeah.
like Autobahn missiles, which is fine, I guess. But like, me personally, I don't like that. Like, I would buy a Benz if I want an Autobahn missile.
Yeah,
I think
because
Benz is
now
that far better.
me having driven both a tuned S8 and a tuned E63. The E63 is definitely way more fun to drive.
Right, and it shouldn't be. Like, it should be a lot more, calm and shit, but it just shows, like, the direction Audi's going.
Yeah, that thing screams.
Yeah, it's just loud and everything. Yeah, and then Ferrari, man, I think if I were to go back, I'd put this in S tier. I don't know where I'd put it, but I just, like, looked at the lineup, and Ferrari's just been killing it recently. And my only gripe is that they're so expensive. Like, once you get into the supercar levels, like, Ferrari, like, drowns all of the other brands with how expensive they are. But, like, the SF90 is nuts. The 812 is nuts. The 488 is, like, just as cool as ever. Like, I just really like the cars that they're making.
I think the SF90
You
is
don't like the
a bargain.
SF90? What's up?
I feel like the SF90 is a bargain. It's a 1,000 horsepower hypercar for $500,000.
Yeah, but it's like you have $500,000. Like,
yeah, at least it's not $1 million like the LaFerrari or the 918.
Yeah, but I would.
well, but I think
you couldn't give me two SF90s for a LaFerrari. I would still take a LaFerrari. That's the thing.
I
I think the point is, if you're willing to spend $500,000 or $1 million, like that extra 500,000 isn't a difference at that point.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a millionaire, so I don't know.
The way I'll give it to you is like getting into S tier now. I would take I don't even know, like a 720S is still only like 350. Like it would be a decision for me to pick between a 720 and an SF90. Like it wouldn't be an easy one. So I feel like that alone just puts it ahead.
I mean, if we're talking about spending millions of dollars out of all these cars, I'd still rather get a Pagani.
Right, like a Huayra Zonda, absolutely, not even close. That's why I was kind of upset they don't really, they're not active anymore. But Horatio, man, he's the man. You ever see that video of Horatio racing this Zonda at the track?
No, I saw the video of that TikToker that asked people what they do for a living, and he didn't know it was Horatio himself when he got out of the car.
Oh, it was
whatever his name is. He was like, "I am Pagani."
Yeah, Daniel Mack. Daniel Mack.
Your car is incredible. What do you do for a living? Just curious.
He doesn't speak English.
Oh, any industry that he works in?
He is Horacio Pagani
Oh, really?
himself.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for creating this beautiful machine. Holy shit.
Who is it?
Pagani.
Dude, what the?
Like the boss music came on in the background. That shit. That was a good one.
But yeah, and then getting into S, Bugatti, I just had to put it at the bottom of S because it's like, it's a Bugatti, right? Like, it's just nuts. It's insane. It's a fucking Bugatti, whatever. But it's just so much money. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I know that, like, it doesn't really count, but I'm taking a P1 or a 918 over a Bugatti any day. Like, it's not even a debate. And they're still, like, a decent amount cheaper. I'm taking a Ferrari over a Bugatti.
Okay.
The Pagani is illegal in the U.S.
And Lewis Hamilton brought his here. Just to wrap it up, Lamborghini S tier, because it's a Lamborghini, man. Like, isn't it, if you're buying these cars, like, Lamborghini's up there just because of, like, the status and the engine sound. There's nothing cooler than a single clutch V12. They sound nuts, like, running through the gears and whatnot. But I would pick a McLaren over that. I'd take a 720S over an Aventador, and I would take a 570S over a Huracan. Not even, like, a debate. I just think the McLarens are way better. Simple as that.
And you're not.
Yeah, exactly. And then Porsche just wins everything. You know?
You know who owns Porsche?
Volkswagen. But,
crazy.
Yeah, man. 911 Turbo S. Just like,
no, it's a dream car.
The value is just a crazy, crazy car. And it's like, oh, what's up?
Still daily too.
Right, the Turbo S not extreme enough for you? Yeah. Have a GT3. Rear-wheel drive, manual. And it's like, oh, you want something a bit more mellow? Buy our $100,000 base model Carrera. Like, this really appeals to all markets. And, like, when you, like, the difference between a Carrera and a Turbo S, for the most part, is only the motor. Like, sure, there's different things about it that, like, enthusiasts might point out.
Yeah, you got, like, suspension, the aerodynamic, like, stuff like that, yeah.
Right, but at the end of the day, like, Porsche is really good at not losing quality when you talk, like, base model.
But weren't you just complaining about the C4S 3 episodes ago?
Well, I said that for, like, the money, I thought it was crazy, but that's, like, from, like, me as a person, like, $140,000, there's probably 3 other cars I'd rather buy than a Carrera for.
Yeah. A good old RX-7, boy.
Right, like that's just me. I just have a thing for cars being super expensive and like you getting like decent performance. Because I said that car was pretty boring, which it was. Don't get me wrong. I think that car is like a decently boring car, but like that's not the point of Porsche. If you have Porsche money and you want excitement, just buy a GT3. And if you can't afford a GT3, buy a Cayman GT4. Car's just as fucking awesome. Like I don't know. I just think
Even then, you could just buy an older turbo.
Right, you could buy an 06, 07 turbo for 70, 80 grand.
Yeah.
And you still enjoy it a lot more than a lot of other cars.
Those are fun too, because I've ridden one.
They hold the value very well too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're like reliable for the most part. Like you don't really hear about Porsches having problems. Granted, you know, when you get into this level of car,
the old Cayennes, yes, absolutely. The like V8 Cayennes, yeah. But what we're talking about, the coupes, yeah.
When you get into this level of cars, you know, you're getting rid of them 10, 15,000 miles anyway. So, you know, for your ownership and probably like the next 2-3 owners, you're not going to run into any problems, which is kind of all that matters.
Yeah, they're good.
That's my list. Porsche wins everything.
They're well.
I think that the Macan and Cayenne are like, whatever we talked about that every brand has those cars that we don't like, and I think
they're like it's a cool idea, but for the money, like.
Same with the Taken, like it's all right. You know, it's a new market and it's selling well. So, you know, by all means, go ahead.
Like, yeah.
It's not like it's hurting the brand at all.
For the money, rather than getting like a Macan, you get like a GLA, like for Mercedes. Like, there's a bunch of other things that you could do. You get an RS3, or not an RS3, SQ3, or whatever, you know.
SQ5, whatever. Yeah.
Well, my point is
they have the RS Q5, stuff like that.
Which is funny, it's like, should we buy this Volkswagen or this Volkswagen?
well, my point is, it's not that it doesn't matter whether I like the Macan or not, I just think it's a little outdated.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, you know, every brand has those cars that are just like, they're really a fan. And it's kind of universal, but, you know, people still buy them, so they're not going to change it. And those cars, like the cheaper cars, are the moneymakers for these brands. So.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't release the Cayenne thinking, like, this is going to be our best seller. We're going to make, like, billions of dollars off this. Let alone, like, the Macan and the Taycan.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you know, our tried and true method was the 911, and that's pretty much what they stuck with.
Yeah, that's my list, man. Fucking Rover.
Dude, the new ones look good. I drove past a couple, they look good.
Yeah, and at 20,000 miles, you're going to be leaking oil out of your gas tank somehow. Like, that makes any sense.
I'm
it's a Land Rover, so it does make sense. Like, it's a two-stroke, yeah, you got oil in your gas tank.
Yeah, bro. Pull out the rotary, get the two-stroke.
But it's like you said, they get rid of those cars in 15,000 miles anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, but not a Land Rover. Like, those are like supercars.
You know how much those things cost?
Yeah, if you're smart, yeah, get rid of it before it breaks. Absolutely.
Range Rovers are like $100,000 cars.
Yeah, the new ones though, stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And they're made for off-roading, and you're like, damn, I'm gonna go.
That's what I'm saying. The targeted markets, that car never gets sold to the target audience, but the target audience is like changed. But they haven't changed the car. That's the problem.
And it's like, yeah, do I want to buy like $100,000 Land Rover, or am I gonna go get a Subaru Crosstrek if I want to go off-road?
Or like a Wrangler Rubicon,
or a Bronco if you have the extra money,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll be a lot more comfortable in a Range Rover than a Crosstrek.
Okay, fine. Then let's compare it to like a F.
But then what's the point of going like off-roading to not be off-roading? Like, why am I going to go off-roading in luxury? Like, that's kind of like when you go camping.
No,
glamping. I mean, that's my take on it.
Ask the housewives.
If I go off-roading, I want to feel the rocks. I want to feel the rocks bouncing me around, get some sand in the doors and stuff like that. Like, that's why I like what they did with the Bronco. They made, like, the marine interior on the one trim model, because they wanted you to take, like, off-roading and go through lakes and stuff like that. Man, now I want a Bronco again.
Again, yeah, for the first time.
Alright,
let's do it. Let's go.